Welcome back to the Coffee Chat, the podcast where we sip, share, and spill a little bit of truth about life, leadership, and leveling up. I'm your host, Diondria Brown, and today's episode is all about so many things a lot of us are navigating. Parenting while building a career in tech, but also really in any field, because this is something that's universal to us as millennials. So now you might not see it on LinkedIn or hear about it in team stand-ups, but behind the titles, inboxes, there are a lot of diaper blowouts, a lot of daycare drop-off, PTA meetings, all of those things. And that's why I'm so excited to have my guest for today, Mariah, who is a tech professional. She's a proud mom, and she's here to talk about what it really looks like demanding two roles. But first, Mariah, what's in your cup?
I am having a little mixture today. So I have an espresso and I just did 2 shots, 2 rounds of the espresso. Then I added some 1 scoop of my vanilla protein powder, a little bit of cinnamon, and a little bit of stevia. And that's what I'm having. What are you
So
having?
you have like a profi, like the protein coffee, huh? I love it.
That's
I
what I
love it.
need.
So
Yes.
I also was on the powdered drinks today. I have I have instant coffee that I added some caramel macchiato creamer and then some brown cookie
Mm,
butter cold foam to it. So it's amazing.
that sounds good. Yes, for the creamer.
I'm excited. Okay, girl. So let's jump in. I
Okay.
would love for you to share a little bit about your journey into the tech space and then give us a little bit about how becoming a parent has influenced or shifted your path once it happened.
Yeah. So my journey into the tech space started really in 2020. So 2020, I was finishing a grad program. And when I first started the grad program and I first started having conversations with my career counselor, I kept going, I want to get away from sales. I have done sales. I've gotten that mark of approval. I've gotten 2 offers to open up my own insurance agency, and that's not the route I want to go. And she kept going, you haven't considered tech sales, right? So that was the dropping of the seed. Like she just kept going, you have a personality, like you really need to be mindful. And so then fast forward to it's time to graduate. It's May of 2020, 3 months of being into a pandemic. And it's like, what are my options? And the options were really between the financial industry. I had a few offers from that direction and then tech. And so then it was like, all right, let's take a dive. Let's figure out what is this role that would be best fit for me. So what I did was I started doing a little coffee chat tour. So anyone that had graduated from my grad school or from my undergrad that had a role at Amazon, Oracle, Netflix, you name it. I was messaging, getting coffee chats on the calendar, trying to understand like, what is the day in your life? What did it take? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? What's needed? And anyway, I landed on solution consulting, also could be called sales engineer. And so from there, I ended up getting 2 offers, and that's what landed me in a solutions consultant, sales engineer role. And that's how that went. And for your part 2, for how parenting has really influenced that, I'd say so that first year, 2020, I was still just a single woman, exploring my new career, playing tennis after work, just in doing all the things and enjoying that. And then I think after about a year into the career, I started feeling like I'm getting that mom itch. And so when I finally conceived, at that point, I was probably almost 2 years in. And the thing about when you join any industry and you are net new to the industry, 9 times out of 10, your pay is not going to be optimal, right? So I even joined in like an associate program, which means like they're really benefiting from net new folks that don't have a lot of experience. So they're going to offer you less money because they're going to pour more into you, and it's going to take 6 months or so for them to get a return on their investment. And that's valid, and it's a valid model. I don't think that model should change. But what happens is, it's so funny. Let's rewind back to when I first started doing those coffee chats. When I would go on the LinkedIn page, I would see that like these peers from my grad school, they would leave a place and like they would be there for a year, then they would leave and go somewhere for 4 months, and they would go back to the place. And so I share all that to say I have now conceived, I'm showing, and I start having some conversations to switch roles. But due to stability and feeling like I am not sure about what this would look like if I were to switch roles at this time, as I'm about to bring on the most important role in my life and this big role that I have, have never had any true my own native experience with, I decided to stay put. And so it allowed me to stay put and continue to grow where I was. And in hindsight, it was great. I ended up, reaching new levels in my career at that same company. But that was a factor. So that's
Okay. So that was actually one of the questions that I was going to ask, but you kind of answered it for me. Is becoming a parent, it sounds like it did influence how you viewed your career and you viewed like stability and the way you managed your career, right? Because it sounds like a lot of your peers, when you were, looking at their LinkedIn's or whatever, you saw that they were hopping
mhm,
and you wanted to talk to them to see, what was going on, or was that a good move? But when you transition into being a parent, it made you view staying still and moving up at the company you had already built a brand within.
mhm.
That was more important versus, kind of like title hopping or salary hopping, which others may have been doing at the time.
Right, exactly.
So one, I just want to shout you out. Take a quick break from, we're going to break character a little bit, guys, because Mariah is actually someone who has inspired me even doing this and calling it the coffee chat. I actually, I had never heard that concept until she came to work with me. So we also went through the same associates program. I just went through it maybe a year before she did. So we
Mhm,
were right behind one another in our journeys into this tech field. Obviously, we just diverged on different paths, but it's so
mhm,
fun because we always get to come back together and share so
mhm,
much information. But Mariah, when she got there and she got hired, she started to put coffee chats on my calendar. And that was something that was like unheard of. Mind you, I was already new. I was new to the space. So I'm like, somebody want to talk to me every week. But there were two people in her associates program. One of our other good friends, TJ,
mhm,
he set up a cadence, and Mariah set up a cadence. And I was like, what is a coffee chat? And we got on, and it was so influential to both of us in our careers and
mhm.
knowledge sharing and
Yeah.
mentoring one another. I love to tell people, like, no matter where you are, even if you are a mentor, you can be mentored by
Mhm,
your mentor, right? You know
mhm.
what I'm
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you know what I'm saying? I mean, of course, at first she probably was like, let me hit her up. She been here, she know. And I'm just like, I do know things. There was a lot of information that I began to share, but also she was new. So she was getting a lot of new information. And she also had these calls set up with so many other people, right? So I was just getting information from my team, but she was setting up calls with people in leadership, people in other segments of the business, or just other senior people within our space. So it began to be like something that we both look forward to. And it was a practice that I actually implemented in my career journey, which I have felt has been so powerful for me because I got to build rapport and learn people for who they are and for not what they did. And I think that was
Yeah.
for me the power of the coffee chat. And I felt like I got so much more information from them about everything versus one thing, right? So I felt like in those conversations, I was able to learn my passport is expired. What should I do? You get what I'm saying? Just based off of us just
It's
building
like, yeah.
rapport. You
Mhm.
remember my passport debacle? But you know what I'm saying? It wasn't just me coming in and saying, give me information, give me information. We were actually just building rapport and connected and talking about so many different things that we were able to learn so much. So I just wanted to highlight that. I want to shout that out and give a credit to you for definitely inspiring me to do that, to build myself and build my brand. And also, I mean, that's why I'm here right now,
Well,
having
thank
another.
you for that. And I love
Yeah.
what you said about we were mentoring one another because that's truly been our journey, right? And you find that that ends up being the journey for a lot of people if you keep up a cadence. And it's like at one point in life I have something to offer. At another point, and
Yeah.
when I say another point, I don't mean 10 years. I don't even mean 10 months. I mean 3 months from now, I'm going through something that you've already been through. And so I'm tapping in on you for that knowledge share. Or I'm talking about what my approach is, and all of a sudden there's a brainstorming strategy session going on. So I just love that concept of like we were mentoring one another because that's truly what it continues to be. One minute I'm calling her and I'm like, girl,
What's going on with
what's
this?
what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely feel like that. I feel like we definitely play tennis. I feel
Yes,
like
we
that's
do.
what we do. We play
We
tennis,
do.
and it's like whatever information we get, we always share with each other, and we help
Hmm.
to bring perspective to the different challenges that we're having. Because again, it's not a lot of us in the space. There are not a lot of safe spaces, and
Hmm.
we are driven women, so it's always awesome to be able to like pick each other's brains and see
Hmm.
how approach different situations. So one last question that I wanted to ask you about that is like, I don't know, just thinking about your career, it might have been like past or present. What's one challenge that you didn't expect about being a parent and navigating and you know what I'm saying, trying to excel in the role that you was, and how did you navigate that?
I think when I was in that phase of excitement and I had conceived and I'm trying to learn everything about the body because I was so serious about like I want a natural birth and all this good stuff. I didn't think about from a work perspective the guilt that we put on ourselves as parents or that would come. Like it just wasn't if you would have asked me back then like, "Hey, do you think you're ever going to experience mom guilt?" I'd say sure, because like you never say never. I'd say, yeah, I'm sure I will. That's human. But I didn't realize like how much you really need to be able to monitor it and check it. So I'll give credit to I don't know the name of Khloe Kardashian's podcast, but she interviewed a woman. She's a graduate of Duke, and I don't remember her name either. But she focuses on parenting and all that good stuff. And so one of the
Where
things
did
she talked say that
I want to
again.
I want to take a pause because I'm thinking you transitioning into how you got through it, but like how did the guilt show up? I guess that's like my question. Obviously, like
Yeah.
more like how did it show up, or like what challenge did it bring in being able to move forward in certain ways? Like what was that?
Yeah, I'm going to give a very open and transparent as I'm experiencing right now. So I am in a parenting partnership, right? And my co-parent lives in another state right now. And because I am net new at a company, I'm really trying to dive in on the technology. I'm really trying to dive in on like the demands and just really trying to push the needle forward. And so because of that, my son went to stay with his dad for a few weeks. And this is the longest period that we ever had planned of like me not being with him. So that introduces a little bit of guilt, right? At the immediate, like at the surface, it introduces some guilt. That's one point. And then the second point is, well, even thinking about what I'm doing during that time, I am locked in on work. I'm very locked in on work. I'm also managing my health and making sure I like work out and eat good and take my vitamins and stay up to date for myself and my own health and wellness. And then also like another example would be like work travel. Like let's even take it like a year or two ago when I'm still at my previous company. Sometimes if I'd have to travel for a week, and on site of hearing that, it's like a week away, especially when you're still in the breastfeeding phase, right? I remember going back to work. I got 4 months maternity, and then going back to work. And then within 2 months, I had to go for a week for what we call a sales kickoff. And I remember bringing my pump and having to pay an extra $100 because the weight in my bag was over. right? It's a week, so I'm packing like I'm going for 3 weeks. And then I remember meeting another mom there, and she was in the same phase of life, but she brought her baby and husband with her. And so then that presents some guilt. So it's like I'm pumping and dumping because I don't have a storage plan. I know now they have these things you can subscribe to ship your milk back or whatever. But I'm pumping and dumping as every bit of this milk is precious because I want to get to a point where even when I stop, there's enough to keep him for a certain amount of time. Whereas this mom is like brought her husband with her and baby with her and is feeding. So then there's that. So I've given you now 3 different, so the onset of like planning to be away for however much time, whether that's a week or 3 weeks due to work. Then the next thing of like what you're missing during that time period. And all these things can introduce what's at the onsite of it. And I keep wanting to emphasize that the onsite of it seems like guilt, but we'll get to the next part. I'll take a pause.
So I think that for someone who doesn't have kids, this is very enlightening. I think that's why I also wanted to ask you that question so that I could get a better understanding because, of course, like I know what guilt feels like, but I don't know what that shows up as or what things are triggering the guilt, right? So I do remember, when you first had your baby, when you was out on maternity leave, I remember all those good things. And when I asked you that question, I thought that your first response was going to be travel, right? Or it was going to be when he was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's coming up on 4, so he's still young, but I would not have thought that you would be saying present day. You get what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of, like still managing your role and being a mother. Obviously, that's something that's going to be forever, right? A balance that you're going to have to do. But I just really thought that it would have been like when he was a baby and we started to travel. So it's
Mm-hmm.
awesome to just even hear, not awesome, obviously, but it's enlightening to hear that that's something that you're still, you know what I'm saying, managing is
Mm-hmm.
still coming up. And I'm happy to hear like how, you know what I'm saying, like what have you been doing to navigate, you know,
That.
now, then all of those things.
Yeah. So going back to that podcast I was listening to yesterday, it's funny because like the last few days I've been like so focused on it. Like majority of what I'm consuming is like work, 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 work stuff. But then yesterday I was laying in bed and I was listening to this podcast. I was finishing it in bed. I started it moving around the house doing the things. And I remember thinking, you know what? It feels so nice to invest a little bit of time into like some parenting knowledge right now because it gets away from you. And I don't want this to turn into like a whole mommy podcast, right? But a podcast
I mean,
episode, but like,
that's what we're talking about. Like, we're talking about real life. This is what people are actually going through. So I feel like it's important for you to share how you are coping in the things that you find helpful. So let's
okay,
turn.
all right. So I was just saying that like when you're in the early stages, right, the baby's coming, you're doing a lot of learning. I mean, some people are. I was because I had a certain way I was trying to deliver. So I'm doing a lot of focus on learning. And then, but for the last year, I've probably been really a little removed from that. Anyway, so I'm listening to it and what she talks about is like, you need to take a moment and sometimes we assume that this mom guilt is like, so here's the deal. She phrased it as like, when you feel guilty about something, it should be that maybe it doesn't align with your morals. So if I drop the bag of chips in the store and I don't pick it up, that's because my morals tells me if this was at my house, if this was my establishment, I would want someone to pick that bag and put it back up where it belongs. So my morals is making me feel guilty if I don't take the time to put that back. That's like a small, little example, right? But so you got to ask yourself, am I feeling guilty because I'm doing something wrong by taking a week to go do a work trip, which is earning and also growing me mentally and allowing me to network or allowing me to, exercise my skill set that I actually enjoy? Do I actually feel bad about that? Does that not align with my morals? And the answer is no, it's not that it doesn't align with my morals. So then you say, well, where is this really coming from? And then a lot of time it's coming from outside. Like you're assuming what someone else on the outside would feel. right? And so there might be an outside force, that's like a week away from your child, or maybe an outside force. These outside standards make us feel like you need to be with your child every single day, right? And so basically what I learned from that is like, take a moment, envision, we talked about tennis, envision that this is a tennis court and there's not a net, it's a glass up. And I'm literally stealing this from this lady. And she's like, a vision that those people that you think are judging you, and it may not even be anybody particular in mind, but like whatever that societal standard is over there, let that be over there. You sit over here and then ask yourself, how do you really feel about it? And if the truth is, this doesn't misalign with your morals, but instead it's just a societal standard that you're up against, let it be over there. Put the glass in between. And so that was really like super, super helpful. And then it talked about, she even gave an example of like, when your kid gets old enough where even your kid is like, Mom, I don't want you to go to dinner tonight. Like, why do you have to go to dinner with the girls? Let's wait a minute. I actually would like to go to dinner with the girls. It would be quite relieving for me as a mom to go have a little chit chat time and talk about you as my child and my partner and work and whatever I need to talk about. And then hear about other people's things and have a point of relatability. But I also can empathize with you, my beautiful child, that you don't want me to leave. So I'm just going to recognize that. I'm just going to say, I understand and I empathize with you that you don't want mommy
My
to go, but
comment,
mommy will be back.
and I think that that's interesting. So when you told that first story about the challenges that you're having right now, obviously it's just always a challenge when you're away from baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's with a purpose. And I was going to ask you, I really wanted to challenge you to say, would you feel the same way if he had to go out of town for work?
Oh,
You
we
get
know
what I'm
the answer. We know the answer. We know it
And I
now.
know it's different because you don't have him, right? So it's just like it's not like he's down the road. But if his dad left for work and he had to go to work out of town,
There's
it
not a
would you
thought.
wouldn't blink an eye. You wouldn't blink an eye. You wouldn't bat an eye.
Mm-hmm.
So just wanted to put that on your mind too, in
But
terms
to
of
add to what you're saying, even though some moms will watch this and say, "Shoot, I am complaining," because even though he is paying the bills, I am complaining that he's got to go too much. But the difference is society wouldn't blink an eye. So even though the partner might blink an eye,
yeah.
society would not blink an eye
And
that this man is on the road 75% of the time.
we've been conditioned not to, right? We've
Hmm.
been conditioned not to as well. So I think that's also something that, so I thank you for sharing that. Like, it was so powerful to just hear your reality and not just hearing the highlight reel, right? We know
Yeah.
everybody's out here doing a lot of things and being super parents, but it was nice to hear the real, especially for someone who's aspiring to be a parent at some point. But I want to talk about how you're holding it all together now, right? So we talking about things that everybody has to do, like
Mhm.
boundaries, time, you're starting a new position, finding your rhythm. I want to kind of get into that and talk about the how. Like, how do you approach setting boundaries right now? Sounds like you're working a lot, you're grinding. How do you set those boundaries between work and home, especially when, us in tech, we feel like we're always on, right? Like there's always something you could be learning,
Hmm.
doing, ahead
Hmm.
of, getting certified in. How do you approach setting those boundaries?
I just make sure that I always do something that I enjoy or that I am going to feel a relief from. Maybe 4 months ago, that would have been pickleball, right? And I was like in a pickleball craze for like 2 to 3 years, right? Really since having my child. And so I would always make time for that, even if it was during a work day. Like I may go at like 10:45 and do a quick game. Now I
I never
often
knew
might
what
be
pickleball. I never knew what pickleball was until recently. But you've been talking about pickleball for a long time,
for
and
a long
now it's
time.
like trending. Everybody's. I got pickleball outfits. They never been on the pickleball courts.
Girl, get out there. It's a good
Yeah.
time. It's a way to release. And pre-baby, my thing was tennis. But then I switched to pickleball because there's a gym I can go to where they have childcare and they have indoor pickleball courts. So that's where that switch came from. Now my tennis forehand is suffering because of it. However, it is what it is, you know.
But what
So
do
I
those
just try to
boundaries
like
look like? So
say that again.
I know you're saying that you're using pickleball as an outlet, but in this new role, right? Like you are determined, you are focused. So, how does that look, or when do you feel like you're going to need to firm up your boundaries? Like, how does that, look, because we can work till 10 p.m. 3 times a week, right? We can work
Yeah.
on the, like, how do you feel like, like you're trying to approach that balance and create some of those boundaries? Is it maybe you don't take calls or emails or respond after certain times, even if you're on your laptop? Like, how does that look?
Yeah, I think for me, the big thing is knowing that like it'll still be there and that I can still get to it. Like, so realizing like I have to prioritize my health and like my wellness. So, for example, yeah, maybe for 2 days straight, I am zoned in because there's some deadline coming up. But then after that, the other 10 days leading up to the next deadline, I'm going to be very mindful with my time and make sure that I still carve out an hour or two to like go to the gym. And if it's like whatever the workout is, like still carve it out, make it happen, whether that's like my lunch break, whether that's like a 3 p.m. and I've been in meetings since 9:30. Like
That's a
that's
great
really what
breakup
I
to the day. That's a great breakup to the day. I actually learned that as well. Just wanted to call it out. Like taking your break and even
hmm
just taking a walk. I used to do that all the time.
hmm
I started to challenge myself to get 10,000 steps, and taking your break and really just getting out of your space for some time, because a lot of us, we work remote, right? So it's just so easy to get stuck at your desk. So that was one of the things that I had to implement as a boundary for me
hmm
at work, was not really communicating before certain hours. Like if it was not an emergency, I'm probably not about to be communicating with somebody at 7 a.m. unless it
hmm
calls for it, right? You get what I'm
hmm
saying? Like on occasion, I would do that, of course, absolutely, but not on a consistent basis, because that's how you start to show other people what your boundaries are, and that you don't have that many. You know what I'm saying? And also, I had to be intentional about taking the time away from my desk during the day, no matter how much I had to get done. It's
hmm
like I can work a little late, but I need this break. I need this
hmm
mental break. I need this mental reset. I need to go for a walk. I need to run and grab some food and like sit on my patio or something and just have that time for myself, because I do feel like taking those breaks and honestly filling them with exercise are the best ways to spend them if
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
Moving your body and getting a little snack and then going back to attack the day. So I just wanted to double down on that and say, like, I love that approach to using your break time for some exercise, because it really does make a difference in
Yeah.
your mental, right? In your mental, and just like your ability to go back and think clearly or have a reset, especially with what we do, because sometimes it can be such like a brain churn.
hmm
It helps you to step away.
And just to add to that, I want to say, like, I think that setting some hard limit of, like, okay, I'm not going to respond to an email before or after a certain time. I think that only works in phases, because the truth is, like, we have these rant periods, right? And during that rant period, where, maybe it's, year in and like you're trying to really get your numbers up, whatever it is, you are going to have to wiggle a bit. And right. And what I do is if I'm wiggling a bit for the job, right, I'm wiggling a bit for my career, I'm also going to make space to wiggle up in there what I need, whether that's like I need to like go have a quick lunch with a friend and not talk about my day-to-day company or whatever. I need to go work out. I need to go get my nails done because I'm about to get on the road. And the truth about me is I really don't care to keep my nails done. I really only do it as I'm about to get on the road. So that's really it. It's real true, real talk. I
So
do not
what's
see
the
a
point?
lot of
Yeah.
value in getting the nails
So
done.
what's the, and I do think that I think that you're correct, right? It's different times. Different times in your career is going to require different things, and
Yeah.
your disability is going to be one of them. But I do think that you can put some reins on it, because some people will push your boundaries, and then you got to let them know
Yeah,
you ain't gonna get
exactly.
a hold of me. You ain't gonna get a hold of me
Yeah.
until I'm ready.
Yeah.
But okay, so speaking of that, just like what support systems do you feel like are helping you to maybe stay organized, stay on top of things? So those can be people, those can be tools, different like habits that you have. Like what do you feel like have helped you most in building systems into, your work life as well as your mommy life, because I'm sure that they overlap.
Yeah. I think in order for me to, I think it always starts with the mommy life. And then, however, I set that up and have like some support there, then that allows me to like have more flexibility and organization and work life, right? Because mom first. So, for example, one thing that I would really advocate for moms is if you're living in a city where you're, maybe an hour or more distance from like your family, whether that's like your mom or your sisters or whoever it is that like you would naturally feel very comfortable like doing the drop off with, and it's just you and your partner. I lean in on like those gyms that have 3 hours of care, so you pay a certain amount, you're able to use the amenities at the gym, but also you can get 3 hours of care while you work out or while you do whatever. So for example, so now that's set. So if that's set up for me to have some flexibility, like I know that like outside of daycare time, which is also my typical working hours, I also have a good 3 hours I can use
And
after
how
work.
often is that? I'm saying, like, with those types of gyms, like, how do
3 hours
those
a day, 7 days a week. Yeah. And the only thing that changes is the time, right? So, like, maybe Monday through Friday, the hours may be like 8 a.m. to noon and then like 4 to 8 p.m. And that's probably standard for most of these gyms. And then on the weekend, it may be like a 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. What is that? Well, how does that help me? Well, how that helps me is like on that weekend, there may be some weekends out of the month where I need to zone in work wise. So instead of me using that 3 hours for solely a workout or to sit in the steam room or play pickleball, I might do, an hour of steam room and then the other two get caught up on some emails. I may
okay,
do an hour of pickleball and then the other 2 hours get caught up on my own home accounting, like my own life accounting and everything and planning. So, yeah, I'd say that's one thing that's been really helpful. I've even thought about,
I'm super curious. Hold on, let me get a little just
yeah,
one more question on this. How much do those memberships usually cost, right? I mean,
well,
obviously it's gonna
yeah,
vary,
it
but
varies. Well, if it's like, so if it's like a O2 Fitness, I think you could do all that for under $100. I
a
think
month?
maybe right around $100 a month. Yeah, like one kid, one adult, maybe 100. If it's a creme de la crop, like a lifetime, you might be looking at like 230, 240, something like that.
Do you but it's an extra 21 hours a week that you have childcare.
And it's the childcare where they're able to exercise their social skills if they're social, or watch other people exercise their social skills if they're not
Yeah.
social, or do some type of activity. Like some of these gyms, depending on the rate, they may have like little classes of like arts or gymnastics that you can take advantage of depending on what day it is. So there could be a lot of benefit there.
I was gonna say, I mean, hearing 230 is like that sounds a lot for a gym membership, but I'm like, that's 21 hours additional a week that you
Mm-hmm.
have extra hands times 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an
Mm-hmm.
extra like 80 hours of help
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
you get for
Mm-hmm.
$200.
Mm-hmm.
80 hours at them daycares is gonna cost you about 600-700. So that's just something else to think. Oh my god, thanks for sharing that. Oh my gosh, that was I appreciate you for sharing that. You gave me more than I even bargained for, but I mean, I'll let you continue. I just got excited about that.
No, I just want to say I agree with your sentiment. Like it has been a game changer and I want to scream it from the mountaintop. If you, I think about couples that live in a city. Like if you go to New York City, and you're from Oklahoma, you don't have anyone there. And maybe, you're not in the stage yet where you want to pay for a babysitter, right? Babysitters run these days $20 to $25 an hour. So use something like that where it could be double benefit. You have access to the gym facilities and then you also, have care for your child and in a group setting. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's an uncovered jewel.
Okay, any other? Let's see. One more gym? You got another gym for him, or is everything else pretty like standard? Do you have a life hack that you're like, this has been another game changer for me in terms of structuring support
I
systems?
think recently, and I'm gonna sound similar to all the folks, is like finding your power hours.
Okay.
I am a person where I'm sharpest in the morning. So if I'm up early, anywhere from the 5 to 6:30 window, excuse me, that's where I can really like have a power hour. And the beauty of a power hour, and lately I've really been getting my power hours even on the weekend, because the whole idea of a power hour is like you don't have those interruptions, right? So there's not people pinging you on your company chat. You're probably not getting distracted text message from the group chat where your girl's sending some funny TikTok. You're not, your kid isn't mama, mama, mama just yet. So the weekend kind of gives me that, but really early morning gives me that. And so I think that's a hack, is that getting up and having like an hour or so to yourself to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish, but without being pulled in multiple directions.
Well, it's just me over here, but I would also say that as well. I feel like the days that I wake up early,
Mm-hmm.
cannot stop me. I feel
Mm-hmm.
unstoppable, especially if I get up early and I work out. I feel like I am on top of the world, and I do feel like I'm most productive in that first like 2 to 3 hour window. So, we just talked about the balancing act. That was real, right? But
Mm-hmm.
let's we want to talk about you because, of course, being a parent is something that's super important. Being a
Mm-hmm.
professional is one thing, but obviously, you can't really pour from an empty cup. So,
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about protecting your peace and,
Yeah.
things that you're doing to, what I'm saying, keep yourself grounded and centered. So, what does self-care look like for you outside of pickleball, outside of getting your nails done to go on the road? Like, what does that look like for you right now?
This week I was sick as a dog on Sunday. That's all country saying, sick as a dog. Anyway, I was sick, very sick on Sunday. So I laid out, like I just was in the bed majority of the day. And then from Sunday to Thursday, because I know I'm about to get on the road, I did not leave the house. And it felt really good. And it felt like a grounding ritual. In one way, I'm like, is this depression? But it's like, no, it wasn't actually. Like, I don't feel depressed at all. I didn't feel like I needed to like go in a corner or anything. It was like everything, it just allowed me to stabilize myself and just get grounded as I am about to be. What
Yeah.
happens is when you are doing a lot of traveling or just having a lot of activity, not just travel, just like the way life works, there's so many areas of overstimulation. So that was a reset that I was able to do this week that was extremely helpful for me. I feel really good. Some other times on a regular, week by week basis, I'll just take 2 or 3 hours to like, hey, I'm gonna lay in the bed for a little bit. Like I don't care
I
if
love
it's like the middle of the day on a Sunday, versus getting up and doing all the things.
I love that. So, two things that I want to call out. So, one, we over 30, girl. So, not doing
Hmm.
nothing is doing absolutely everything.
It's the best gift. It's a gift.
Yeah, so when you said that, you were like, I just did nothing and it didn't feel depressed. Like, I feel like a grounding ritual that I've implemented with myself. It's been for a couple months now. It's just staying in on Fridays. When you said that, I'm like, girl, I love to stay in. I love to be in my peace bubble. I love to, because it doesn't have to be a ritual
Mm-hmm.
or a big, broad thing. It can be cooking yourself dinner,
Mm-hmm.
sitting on the couch,
Mm-hmm.
watching TV,
Mm-hmm.
and rubbing your feet together. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely feel you on that. And those things are what's most important because again, like you said, overstimulation is a real thing. I think post COVID and working from home, I recognize that I get overstimulated with people very easily
Mm-hmm.
when I go on trips with others. After 2 or 3 days, I'm kind of like ready to go home. And when I get home, I have to be by myself for like 2 days or a
Oof.
day. So I have to decompress. Like I have to just, like you said, how you do on Sundays, I have to just lay in the bed and just be by myself. And I do recognize like those are the things that are grounding for me, or those are the things that are, you know what I'm saying, just helping me from all of this stimulation because I don't think that we recognize how many things have access to our minds. There
Mm-hmm.
are
Mm-hmm.
people, places, and things that we see with
Yeah.
our own eyes, and then we pick up these devices and we go into these portals, and then we're just stimulated by
Mm-hmm.
all of this information. And we hop into our emails and we're just stimulated by all this information. And it's like you do need those times where you just totally detach and you're not talking to people. It's like
Yep.
I live alone, but I talk to so many people all the time. because I'm on Instagram and I have a million DMs. I'm commenting on things. I'm making my own content. So that overstimulation is really real. And finding those ways to cope that don't always involve going out and attacking something and accomplishing something is just as important as everything else that you're doing.
Yep.
So, I mean, we kind of talked about this, but like, what helps you to reset? Like, if you're feeling overwhelmed, I know recently you have been kind of dealing with a little bit of guilt, and then you're also starting a new role, right? We in technology, so I know that that can be overwhelming. Like, what helps you to reset or ground yourself again outside of the things that maybe we have mentioned? It could be a conversation with a friend. It could be, you get what I'm saying? It could be a book, could be any of those things, but just thinking to, those things that bring you peace and help you
Yeah.
to do that.
On a daily basis, I find myself looking towards the steam room. And here's why. When you're in the steam room,
Ooh,
you are no phone. You can't bring that phone in there. I'm laying down or I'm sitting up and I'm just able to think and kind of like release and think without action, kinda. Because the thing about the overstimulation, the thing about the list of to-dos is that you can be working on one and then all of a sudden you think of the other. And then
yeah.
the thing about, especially as a mom, I'm always trying to multitask. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'm packing up right now. Oh, I could go ahead and be doing that load of laundry. Oh, did I send that email? Let me go back and do a double check. Like literally your brain is like in a million different places. So the ability to be in that steam room, I'm still going to think through the list and kind of maybe reflect on the list, but I can't take any action right there. I have
Okay.
to sit with it. I have to sit with it, feel it, let my skin get some rejuvenation, let my pores clear out. Again, as a mom, as a parent
Therapeutic.
of a, what'd you say?
I said it's so therapeutic being in the steam room. Like, it's a mental challenge for sure, but it's so relaxing and therapeutic. So I love that that's somewhere that you take the time to like ground and, you know what I'm saying, slow down your mind. If somebody was listening right now that feels like they're barely hanging on, what is something that you would want them to hear?
I mean, the truth is that it's always going to get better. Like, that's always the truth. You always find yourself when you're in a low, when you reflect on other times that you had lows, you also reflect that at some point you came out of that at a high or even at a medium, but a medium is higher than a low. So it is definitely going to get better. And the thing that has helped me throughout my life get through like triumph or deal with traumas or deal with hurdles, obstacles, is one foot in front of the other. Just one foot in front of the other. Just gotta keep on moving. Like, go. Take a moment, reflect, but don't sit in it for too long. Sit with it, be with it, and then put one foot in front of the other. And before you know it, you'll be at the top of the hill again. And then before you know it, in order to grow, because girl, that mic is just not your friend today.
Cut this out because what is going on? I'm like, not me
Don't
messing
cut it
with
out. That's
you.
just real.
Okay, it's a blooper, guys. Y'all know I'm new to this, so this is what y'all get. But
We can
okay,
still
so
hear you.
one foot in front of the other. I really love that. Girl, I feel like you gave us so many nuggets in there in that self-care section. I love the fact that you really took it to something as simple as being in the steam room on a daily basis to reset and not like my world has collided and now I went on a sabbatical in Wisconsin and that's how I ground myself and reset. But before we wrap, I want to have a little fun. So this next segment,
Okay.
we're going to call this our coffee break segment because sometimes the best conversations happen when we just pause and share life. So, can you tell us about a funny time or an unforgettable moment where your parenting life and work life collided? And I know that this happens because my god kids have been here, my nephew has been here, and it's like you could be in the middle of something extremely important and a baby with no pants will show up
Yeah.
behind you.
Yeah, the most recent thing I can think about, it's not really funny. It's comical like, I would have never thought that would have happened. So here's what happened. I had to travel for work, and it's in the city and state where his dad lives. So I took him with me, right? And so when it was time to return, we missed our flight. And our flight was like a late night, 9 o'clock flight, would have put us home by like 11. So we missed our flight. So we booked us on like a 5 a.m. flight. And so overnight, we just needed to sleep. He was tired. We both slept. But then I'm thinking, okay, my car is already at the airport. I have a meeting at this time. I need to get him to school. I need to take the meeting, get him to school, and I need a smooth transition. I didn't wake up early enough to get us like showered and good to go at the house. So we literally went to the airport. We had a layover in DC, and in DCA, one of the lounges has a shower. So we went to the lounge, we took a shower. He's screaming because of course this was a nice shower, like it's a nice lounge. And so he's like
It's a Delta.
crying, he's
Look, I
like
know it's a
crying.
Delta lounge. If it's the shower, I know it's the Delta lounge, child. I know them lounges.
And so I gave him a shower. We went out to get some breakfast. And one of the women working there, she saw me just circling around looking for somewhere to sit because I kind of wanted somewhere in case he was going to cut up a bit. She took us into this area that was like just a family area. And it was just him and I, two couches, a nice TV. He watched some soccer. He ate his breakfast. And, we made it home. When we got home, I literally took the call from the airport waiting for our luggage. And it's one of those instances where I didn't mean to check a bag, but they make you check the bag anyway, and you're hoping they're going to give it to you at the top, before you actually fully deboard the plane. And instead, they're making you go to baggage claim. So anyway, I'm on the call. I'm taking the call. We get in the car. I take him to daycare, and the day rolls on. And so that's like one of those moments of like, didn't expect it, but this is what we're working with. And shout out to the lounge and the access.
Shout out to the access. Okay, so what's one parenting trick, hack, or habit that helps you survive those, like, we just heard about a chaotic week, but those chaotic weeks?
Yeah, I think, recognizing like as a mom.
Look at me. I'm like, it could be Miss Rachel because she be coming in.
She came in clutch for a long time. He's kind of over her now, but she came in clutch for a long time. And then it was blippy. There was a blippy era. But now I think to get past it is to recognize that your child is going to regulate based off your emotions. So if I show frustration, like, gosh, you just knocked that plate down. You guess what? Him knocking that plate down is not the end of the world. Even though I'm ready to go and I don't have the time to do whatever it is to clean this up, whatever. It's fine. We're all fine. We're fine. Everybody, we're fine. So I think the biggest thing is recognizing that his emotions are going to be regulated based off of mine. And one of the biggest tools I've used in mommyhood that I think I just never would have knew would be so powerful is sometimes I just lean my forehead into him. It's just like my skin touches your skin. Mommy's calm. Mommy's taking regular deep breaths. You take deep breaths and let's calm down. I'm not saying that always works. I'm not saying I don't run into moments where I am not even thinking to do that, but I'm saying it works a lot.
Like, works, but it might not always work.
Don't panic.
After,
Don't
look,
panic. If you don't panic, they won't panic. And to be honest, one of the things of why you see these women coming into these different industries being badasses is because the same thing works, in your career.
in your career.
Everyone is like freaking out, like, how's this going to go? Guess what? We're all going to be fine.
I got this. We got
So,
it.
but someone
Okay.
has to level set the room. Someone has to keep their energy at like an even kill.
Yeah.
It's all going to be fine.
It's the confidence. It's the confidence. That's really what it is. It's the confidence. So, like, for you, after a long week, what's your go-to drink? I mean, I would say, look, I'm gonna keep it PG first, right? Is it coffee? Is it tea, wine, something a little stronger? What's your go-to?
All right. So if it's like a weekday and it's been one of those long days, nonstop, maybe a cup of tea, honestly. Or I'm really okay with like ice water with, no, not, I don't like ice water, with like lukewarm water with some lime. That's kind of how I finish my night. But if we're talking about a long week and
Talk about
a long
Friday
week and I'm
night.
just
Yeah,
ready to, yeah.
the week with the Delta shower.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
that.
Spicy margarita is my thing, right?
Period.
Well, actually, let me give you two. It depends. I may start out with a spicy margarita, but if it's the end of the night and I'm really stressed out, I might just do some Jameson on the rocks
Ooh,
with a little splash of sparkling water and lime. That's probably really like if I want to go ahead and feel something.
okay. That's
Yeah.
when you really need something strong. Okay, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Okay, my last question in this little, phase, because this has been fun. So I
hmm
want to end with you dreaming big, right? So if
Okay.
you could wave a magic wand, what's one thing you wish tech companies understood a little bit better about working parents?
That's a good one. Wow, I'm stumped. I'm gonna tell you why I'm stumped though. In my experience so far in tech, they're doing a good job in comparison to some other industries. Like I'm coming from, traditional finance, insurance. I've worked at a corporate office on Wall Street. I've worked at an insurance agency, and it is so different in terms
So you
of
feel like tech understands the work-life balance.
I think so. And I'll tell you, even one of the things that's been new to me at this current company is heard a lot more men get on a call and talk about their parenting demands. Obviously, as a woman, we're going to be a little bit more hush hush about it. We just are. It is what it is. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy.
I think it's either or though, right? So I feel like there are a lot of people that do not say anything, right? But I think on the other end of the spectrum, I think there's some people that there's their entire personality at work is their kids or like no, but that's like
Yeah,
how they build relationships and how they find common ground with a lot of people. So they
which is
lead with,
fine.
right? They lead.
Yeah.
I do think that it takes for you to get to a certain career where it might be dependent on your role, how much rapport that you need to build with someone. But I think
Mhm.
that's one of those things that people use to kind of break the ice.
Yeah, I agree with that. But just to go back to your question, I honestly think that I can only speak to my experience. And in my experience so far at two different tech companies, people get it. Like people get it. Because the leaders have children, the managers either have or
Yeah.
aspire to have children. Like people get that that you have a life outside of work and actually that your life outside of work contributes to what you're bringing to the table and it contributes to like your level of happiness and it also contributes to you giving a damn to work for them because let's be real, people are working to get something and some of that is self-gratification but the other part is paying bills and the other part is giving your family experiences and so they realize the whole cycle needs to happen. Now, granted, there's always that one or two people that are living their single life and making all this tech money and like just, having a great time. And listen, kudos to them, honestly, truly, kudos to them. But you need the others as
Mariah, thanks so much for being honest. You have been real and incredibly relatable. I feel like you're proof that you don't have to be in leadership to be leading in life, especially with all of the roles that you're carrying. And I feel like your story is going to help someone that feels they don't feel a little less alone after hearing from you, and they're going to have some great resources. But before we go, it's time for our just a little rapid fire. I just have
well.
a few
Okay.
questions.
All
All
right.
right. Quick answers only,
Okay.
right? So, favorite childhood cartoon.
The wild thornberries.
Okay, I love that. A quote or mantra that keeps you going.
Life is for the living, so live it, or you're better off dead.
I love that. I love it, girl. Okay, what's one way we can show ourselves more grace this week?
Tell yourself you are great. And tell yourself you are loved.
Awesome. So, all right, guys, if today's conversation resonated with you, share it with someone who needs a little extra encouragement this week. Make sure to tag us. Take care of yourself, pour into your people, and keep showing up exactly as you are. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep leading over coffee.
Thank you for
All right.
having me.
Thanks for being here. All righty.